Hey fam, Sergeant Homesteader here. Today we are going to be dipping cheese in wax to preserve it. So I've done all kinds of cheeses. The cheese lasts anywhere from 4 to 7 years on your shelf in the wax. I've used a variety of cheeses. You want to choose a little bit of a harder cheese when you're making, dipping it in wax. So I've done mozzarella, I've done Swiss, I've done cheddar, I've done Munster. Today we are going to be doing some Munster cheese and some smoked cheddar. I've also looked at the different prices in cheeses to see if one preserves better than the other, and I haven't found a difference. This stuff right here is like the $1.88 stuff at Walmart, so price didn't seem to matter when it came to how it preserved. So what we're going to do here with the cheese is we have it unwrapped and we let it come to room temperature. So this has been sitting out on the counter for about 4 hours because I don't want any condensation on the cheese. So we're going to dip it in a little bowl of vinegar, just white vinegar, and I'm going to set it back on the paper towel. The white vinegar is killing anything that's on the cheese right now. We're going all the way around, and now that has to dry. While it dries, we're going to get our wax. So this is a food grade cheese wax. So the difference between this and a candle wax is it's flexible. It's almost like a beeswax. So we're going to pull some of this stuff and we're going to put it inside of our double boiler that we have on the stove. So we got water in the bottom. We're going to turn this guy on, start getting some heat going, and then we are going to be putting our wax in there. I like to get it started out, and then I don't want to chop my hand off, so just do little bits at a time and then start to tear. So let's get all this wax in. I haven't come up with like how much wax per block of cheese. All the wax, whether it's melted or not, you can reuse it again later. So the other thing is I chose this size to cut my pound of cheese in half, because if it comes down to it and we open one of them up, we don't typically eat a whole pound of cheese at one time. We'll eat a half a block. And so that's why I'm doing it in this size, so that if I want to, I can just open one up, we'll eat it all, and I won't have to find a way to refrigerate it if that's not an option. So, all right, we're gonna get this wax to start melting for us, and then we'll start dipping some cheese. All right, so our wax is just about finished. We're nice and liquidy. Couple of housekeeping tips. I like to give housekeeping tips. The reason being is that I used to teach CBURN classes, and I would be telling people you gotta put your mop gear on and put your pants on first. That's where you want to start. Put your pants on, put your suspenders on, strap your waist. Like, I'll back up. Does anybody not know how to put your pants on? Because usually it's one foot after the other. No one had any questions. At the end of the class, I was critiqued in teaching, and I had one soldier come and tell me, yeah, if you could show us how to put our pants on, that would be really helpful. So I always want to make sure that I'm going through and I'm explaining as much as I can, so that nothing is missed, okay? So this is boiling water. It's hot. You might have to add more water because we're getting all of this steam off. Basic science. This metal pot is hot. This glass bowl is sitting in it. The metal expands. Do not walk away from this when you're done with your project. Make sure you take the bowl out because the metal is expanding. The bowl can drop in a little bit and then the bowl will get stuck inside your pot. So you don't want that to happen. The other thing is what I did is I cut out the labels from the cheese. So later I will put the labels to be able to identify my cheese for when I want it. All right, so I'm going to go and I'm going to make sure that the vinegar is completely dried off. I don't have any drops of vinegar. I've got a piece of wax paper here waiting for me. And so we're going to do a dip in. When I dip it in, this wax is hot. It's just like candle wax, so it's not going to burn you, but you don't want to put your fingers on the bottom. You also don't want to let it sit there because you don't want to melt your cheese. So we're just going to go a dip, let it drip off. Set it down. Other one. Dip. Drip off. Set it down. By the time I get back to this one, it's almost dry. We're going to dip the other side. Dip. Flip it the other way. We are going to be doing 3 to 5 dips. Now, I know that people might be getting all worked up. Sergeant, dipped cheese is not going to be preserved on the shelf. Well, before you get all excited, I want you to think about those nice little Christmas baskets that we get every year from friends, the ones we love to give, hate to get. They have what in them? They have crackers, they have meat, and they have wax dipped cheese. How long has that been sitting there on someone's store shelf? How long has that been in a warehouse? Good question. Is it still good to eat? Sure is. So, we've got one layer on. That's our first layer of our first bit of cheese. I'm going to drop some of the wax off my fingers, let it remelt in there. I'm always checking to make sure that what's inside my pot is still looking good. And then we're going to go for our next dip. There we have it. We've got 5 layers on that piece of cheese. Now I'm going to take its label, stick it in the wax, and put it right on top. Put my finger over the top, make sure that that label doesn't come off. And now we know what kind of cheese we have. Okay, so we set the cheese aside. We still have some extra wax in here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this out, wipe the bottom, because I wanna save this wax for our next time. Turn off the heat, and I'm gonna pour it on my wax paper. Once it starts to get a little bit cooled off, I can start to apply it back into a square if I want to. The other thing is, being that this is wax in my bowl, you might want to wipe it out with a paper towel so that the wax doesn't get hard and then it's tough to clean. So I always like to wipe it out before it gets too cooled off inside the bowl. Okay, last step. We've let our cheese cool down, and now we're going to place it in some cheesecloth. Now, the only reason that I put it in cheesecloth is because I let it sit down in my cool spot in my basement, and I want to make sure that if there's any moisture that is around, that it's going to be absorbed in the cheesecloth rather than trying to get within the wax of the cheese. I'm doubtful of it. I just am taking some extra precautions. So, we've got our bits of cheese. Let's go put them in the storage. So, as you see, we have some cheese already stored up. We're going to add thing 1 and thing 2. Great having you guys with me to wax some cheese today. I hope you get to try it. Hope you like it. Hope you subscribe.